Welcome into this Fantasy Flyer Bulletin. This is a Waiver Wire edition of the name game. A little bit of bonus content for those of you on the YouTube and maybe for those of you on the Apple podcast as well. Taylor is still here with me as always, my wonderful co-host. Taylor, how's it going? What's going on this episode?
Yeah, so we wanted to provide a little extra here since week one. There's a lot of waiver options. One of the most important weeks to really capitalize on some of these players and continue to build your team because this is a weekly game. This is not I should say this is a season-long game, not a weekly game. So you want to continue to improve your team. The draft may not have gone as well as you wanted. So, as Derek said, we are going to do a name game waiver edition, and we're going to mix in a little bit of a new thing that Derek came up with: top, hop, flop, or drop. So, top being somebody had a ceiling game, hop being that they played above average, so they hopped up above their average. Flop, they had a floor game. They hit the floor. They didn't do as well as they normally do, and drop, cut them, get rid of them. You don't want them. So we're gonna kind of wing this, see how it goes. Let's start off with QBs. So Carson Wentz obviously had a great week. I can't imagine that a lot of people drafted him, considering he hasn't had a lot of great seasons lately. So, would you rather have Carson Wentz or Ryan Tannehill?
So, Wentz plays the Lions. I know that because I looked at that one already.
Tannehill plays
Lions
Buffalo.
just okay. So neither one have great matchups, and I say that because we just saw what Detroit did against the Eagles. Granted, they allowed a lot of yards to AJ Brown.
Mhm.
I
That
think
being
I'm.
said, Wentz also played against Jacksonville, who's not a bad defense at all.
Yeah, it's true. He had some smart. He took advantage of some smart wide receiver play. This is a tough one. So I'm gonna go. So if I have Terry McLaurin, I'm going with Wentz. If I have Ryan Tannehill, or if I have Traylon Burks or Robert Woods, I'll probably go with Tannehill. I think the stack is going to help here.
Mm,
If you have none of them and I have to make a decision, like Dak just went down with this injury, and I have to make a quarterback decision, for example, because I have better options on the waiver wire than I do on my bench, I would probably go with Carson Wentz. And I know Tannehill is much more trustworthy, but Tannehill also, I don't know. I feel like Carson Wentz's average to his ceiling is still better than Tannehill's average. So I'll go with Carson Wentz.
I would agree. Carson Wentz had a phenomenal game. If he can play like he did I'm pretty sure it was sophomore year, then this could be a great year for him. And Tannehill is consistent, but never really has a very like out of the water game. Just blows you out of the water. So
Yeah,
yeah, I would say Wentz as well.
I'd
Um,
I'd also go out on a limb and just both are good defenses, but I think the Bills' defense is better than the Lions' defense.
yeah,
So
yeah,
adding that in as like the little cherry on top.
yeah. Agreed. All right, so you went with Wentz, so let's pick another name here. Would you rather have Wentz or Matt Ryan?
So Ryan now plays the Jaguars, and he has this big bounce back that he has to probably come up with because he didn't play exceptionally well. Middle of the road for what Matt Ryan can do. And as much as Jacksonville played well defensively against the Commanders, I'm gonna go with Matt Ryan. I'm gonna go with Matt Ryan, and that's a tough one because it's still Carson Wentz. I I don't know. That's so tough. I can't be angry if you disagree with that. And that's to anyone because we did just see Jacksonville was solid against Carson Wentz, but also if Jacksonville give up that to Carson Wentz, why won't they give it up to Matt Ryan?
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Maybe I'm holding. Yeah, let's see here. I think I was leaning Wentz, but you make some good points. Ryan, I would say significantly better career. I don't know if he's still the better quarterback.
That's a tough spot.
I would probably say yes, but something that's interesting with the Colts. So what? Philip Rivers, then Carson Wentz, and now Matt Ryan. They've all sort of been mediocre with the Colts. So is it something about the way that, I mean, JT is so dominant? Is it something about that offense that quarterbacks are just not great in that offense? I don't know. Pity City, Michael Pittman is a great wide receiver that's coming into his own. They have other options. If anybody can do it, hopefully Matt Ryan still got it. He might be able to do it. You got me second guessing myself here. I think what you said about if Wentz did it against Jacksonville, then maybe Jacksonville's not as good as I think, and maybe Matt Ryan should have a better week 2 than he did week 1. I'm still gonna go Wentz on the ceiling, and the thought here is quarterbacks in a 10-12 league are you can, if you didn't get a good one, mix and match, check out the matchups each week. I'm going to go with the ceiling of Wentz. All right. So mixing in top, hop, flop, and drop here. Wentz had a great game. Mariota had a pretty decent game. Tannehill, Baker Mayfield, oof. Gino, better than
Good game.
expected. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd put him hop.
You give him a hop. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody so far you'd give a flop to? Should I keep going down the list?
So I'm going to say Tannehill gets a flop, and here's my reason. When you need plays and the Giants are there, they're knocking on your doorstep after not being a threat most of the game. It comes down to your quarterback who has to make the plays. I know the calls don't necessarily always come down to him, but Tannehill has to make these plays. You have to see probably a little more of the field, and you have to let a veteran be a little bit more of a veteran. And instead of going for 15 or 20 deeper in the field, maybe deeper into coverage, the check down at 8 or 10 might be fine, or at 6. So I would give Tannehill the flop based on that. Going forward, again, great opportunity to rebound. So he's my flop. Matt
Better
Ryan,
days ahead for him.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Matt Ryan, I think, would probably be a flop as well. But again, you're bound to have a better week. A couple other names that I would probably put on the flop train. Baker Mayfield, 100% a flop. Wasn't horrible, but if I'm looking at Baker, he's borderline drop for me in the fact that if there's something on my waiver wire that I can get, if there's a Carson Wentz, if there's a Matt Ryan, pick them up because I have more faith in them than Baker. But other than that, I'm not just gonna drop Baker to drop Baker. I also see there's Mitch Trubisky and Trevor Lawrence here. I wouldn't put them. I would put them middle of the road. I wouldn't even give them a title. So
yeah,
let them be what they're going to be.
Yeah, I would agree. Those flops. Top, Carson Wentz. That was maybe his ceiling. We hope he continues this up, but that may be the ceiling. So, don't bank on that every week. And then a hop. I'd throw out Gino as a hop. I did not expect that game from him. He was pretty solid, especially the first half. Maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. If he could prove me wrong. That may not be above his average. But I don't know that he continues down that level of production. As far as drops, Mac Jones is one that comes to mind. I don't know that most people drafted him, but it's plausible. He had a great rookie season. He's injured. I did not like what I saw. I don't have a lot of faith, at least these upcoming weeks, for them to get their game plan.
It's been my stance since we started talking about this that after 1 week, I'm very hesitant to drop people if you drafted them. Because as you explained to anyone who's watched the show from what'll be yesterday by the time we post this, dropping somebody after week 1 can lead to some bad repercussions. We talked about Isaiah Pacheco. You did it. I know there's a give and a take with all of these. Mac Jones is probably the closest. Let me see. Who is he playing? Who are they playing this week? Do you know?
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and look what Pittsburgh just did to the best. So I thought it was one of the better defenses. That's probably the closest I'll get. Baker Mayfield plays the Giants. Giants, if it wasn't for a gutsy 2-point conversion call by Brian Dable, would probably be 0-1. But that's good coaching, and results are what matters. I think Baker has a good chance for a step up. I don't think Mac does. If there's any one of these hops or tops that we've talked about, Geno Smith, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, even though he had a flop, I would say go out and pick him up if you get him on your waiver wire.
Yeah, that's fair. I think QBs are a little different for me in terms of dropping because there's plenty of other options each week that have a good matchup, and Mac Jones does not have a good matchup. And I think that, like we've elaborated on some of these other guys that have some good matchups. So, all right, Moving on to wide receiver. There's a lot of names here, so let's start off with one of our top guys here, Curtis Samuel. Would you rather have him or Jarvis Landry?
So they both have names in front of them on the depth chart. I have a little bit more faith in Jameis Winston than I do in Carson Wentz long term. But Landry has a little bit more consistency over the last couple of years. Curtis obviously was injured for a large part of last year. 2021 wasn't immaculate either, though. I'll go Landry. And, well, actually, before I do that, hold on. Let's go into this. Saints play the Buccaneers. And, Saints play the Buccaneers. And Commanders play the Lions. Yeah, I'll stick with Landry. I like Curtis Samuel for the target share he just got. But I feel like you looked at everybody there, unless Chris Olave gets another 4 targets, Michael Thomas probably got his fair share of targets, about average, what you'd see. And Landry was still very successful in a game where they didn't even cross 450 yards offense. I like Landry more for that.
Yeah, I'm pretty torn here as well. I like Samuel's sort of dual threat, if you will, the rushing. But I like that Landry seems to be the number 2 on an offense that throws the ball a lot.
They both were tops as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, I would agree.
Both ceiling game that you can get for each. I mean, Samuel would have more room if there wasn't Jahan Dotson, Lance Thomas, Terry McLaurin there. He would have more room.
Exactly.
But that's not the case. So
yeah,
barring an injury, that's a top.
Yeah. I mean, they're both high on my list if they're available, but I think I'm with you, Landry. All right. How about so Chargers have a possible most likely a vacancy with Keenan Allen's injury. Would you go Landry or DeAndre Carter with the potential to step into a decent role? Or are
So
you
this,
more in the Josh Palmer camp?
so I'm gonna go with, if I'm the Winston owner, I'm getting Landry. Anything else, I'm gonna take Carter for the ceiling.
Yeah.
And that's just, I don't think, again, that's going off of Jarvis being a top. I think he's gonna fall back to the middle range. DeAndre Carter played well with Keenan Allen. He's gonna have some catches there. So
Okay.
I go with that one.
I might also say that DeAndre Carter was a top.
Eh,
Yeah, you
We
think that
saw a
was
couple of those. We saw a couple of those games. So this goes back to what I was just saying. You pull someone out of that rotation, more of that can pick up. So you pull out Keenan Allen and his 10 targets.
yeah.
Where do they go? Mike Williams is going to get 3 or 4 or 5 of them, but you got 5 more to go around.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't say top.
Two to
Maybe I should
two
say
to
hop.
yeah, big hop, 100%. But I don't think he's quite at a top if you take Keenan Allen out, which is
Yeah,
going to probably be the scenario.
that's fair.
Question for you. I'll spin it around.
Hmm.
DeAndre Carter or Corey Davis. We saw Corey Davis have a good outing. DeAndre Carter with the ceiling. Your take.
Oof. I feel like Davis should have another. Davis should continue to stay where he was. I think that's not out of the realm of a consistent sort of production level for him. But I might go DeAndre Carter here. To your point with Keenan Allen being out and him having a decent game, I think that the opportunity is there for Carter, at least this week.
Okay. Kyle Phillips or DeAndre Carter.
Ooh.
Also, I agree with you.
Now this is interesting because I am down on Woods after what we saw in week 1. I think Burks is the better talent, Treylon Burks, but Phillips got a ton of usage. They like him, and there was rumblings before this from training camp about this guy that they really like him. So it was him or Carter, you said?
Yes.
I might go Phillips.
Okay. You even given the matchup. Interesting. Okay. I'll take that. Real quick, label them on the THFD, top hop flopper drop. Greg Dortch,
Oof.
top hop flopper drop.
Uh,
Top for me.
yeah,
It's about
definitely a
as good as
top.
you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Donovan Peoples Jones.
Hop.
Hop. Okay. Devontae Parker.
Drop.
All right. We're gonna move on to the running back now. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Keep it rolling. I think
Yeah.
you got to start off with the home run here. Dontrell
Yeah.
Hilliard versus anyone. You know he's a top.
Yeah, for sure.
Dontrell Hilliard or Isaiah Pacheco.
Oof.
I'm gonna go Pacheco just because of the snap count, and that is the only reason.
Yeah. I'm leaning Hilliard, but to our point, like we just said, he was a top. I might go Pacheco as well. Thinking more season long term.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Another one that's so you keep that mindset.
Okay.
Season long. Cam Akers or Kenny Gainwell.
Man,
I
I
would
was
say
really disappointed with Akers.
I would say Akers is another one out of this group that's closest to a drop for me. But
Yeah.
again, a real bad reason to do it because you know he's going to end up doing something. And Sean McVay even said it's Henderson had the hot hand.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you should give Akers another week, but I'm also borderline drop. They're in similar boats, like Gainwell with Sanders, Akers with Henderson. I think Akers season long term, maybe. I'm being hopeful here though. I
That's
didn't
fair.
like what I saw.
Jeff Wilson or Cam Akers?
Wilson. I
Okay.
think that with Shanahan's system and what he's been able to do in the past, and Mitchell being out, I would go Wilson.
This, I think, is a real one that I'm going to give you for our final one out of the running backs. I think there's at least, I would say 20% of Elijah Mitchell owners who are probably facing this exact conversation right now. Jamal Williams or Jeff Wilson?
This is a tough one. I
You saw it coming.
I like Jamal Williams' usage, and we talked about this in the show that Williams may or may not be the goal line back. It was tough to say if it was that way, if that was the game plan or if it just worked out that way based on giving Swift a break after a long run. I think if you're the Mitchell owner, I would probably go Wilson. If you're
Ain't got
not,
value.
yeah. If
I was just thinking that.
if you're just looking for someone else to add, I might go Williams.
Okay. Real quick, top hop flopper drop. Give me a ranking.
Hilliard. Oh, okay, go ahead. Rex Burkhead.
Yep.
Hop.
Okay. Tony Pollard.
Oof.
I say flop.
Yeah. I think better days are ahead for Pollard. Flop as well.
Yeah. James Cook.
Oh man. I definitely think the better days are ahead for him, but I might drop him.
He's one of the ones where if I see one of the names on the top of this list, sorry, Jamesy.
And that's tough to say because running backs are hard to come by,
Yep.
but I think there's plenty of other options right now.
Yep. To the tight end, our final group. We're gonna reverse it this time. Give it a top. You want to do top? Give me a top off flopper drop. Let me see what I can do here.
All right. So, I mean, I'll start with one that I think is obvious. Taysom Hill.
Oh, top.
Yeah. OJ Howard.
Yeah, it's either it's either top or hop. I'm gonna go. It's like in between because he could still have more catches too. So I'm gonna say hop because I think 2 touchdowns is a top, but he could have 6 catches in a game.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's so. He has a room there. I'm gonna say
purely from a fantasy points perspective, I think I would go top.
Yeah, that's close. Yeah, that's fair because he had 18 on 2 catches. Yeah.
Gerald Everett.
Oh.
Keenan Allen being out this week.
Well, I'm looking at him if I lose a tight end somewhere, or if I'm down, or if I have drafted the tight end horribly. I'm gonna give him a top. And that's a tough one because he's really kind of middle of the road. But he was. I think he's got some upside.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would agree. I don't think it was a hop. I think that he should still have some good games. It's tough to say top though, because I think he could. Yeah. I don't know if he hits any of these for me.
Right.
How about Hayden Hurst?
Top. I don't know. I'm gonna say hop. There's room. He could have had a touchdown in there too. He also had 9 targets and only caught 5, so there's definitely room there. Purely from a pickup or a drop. If I am seeing Robert Tonyan, I'm probably looking at him, OJ Howard, Hayden Hurst. Those are probably my top 3 if these are on my free agency on my waiver wire. If you need a tight end, which I don't know if there's any that really.
Yeah,
it's tough.
I don't know that I'm in on OJ Howard yet. So for me, Hayden Hurst, Gerald Everett are ones I'm going after. Tonyan for sure.
with that.
And I'm definitely holding on Cole Kmet. That was some terrible weather.
Give it time. Give
yeah.
it time on Cole. All right.
Alrighty.
That is going to end this Fantasy Flyer Bulletin. Taylor and Derek signing off. You guys have a good night or day or afternoon.